Welcome to another episode of The American Dream. I'm your host, Kara Kay. We've got a great show for you this week. We're talking about real estate, business, and finance. We've got a great one for you. Let's get the show started right now. Here at The American Dream, we go against the grain of the negative media to focus on positive aspects of business, people helping people, and today we are interviewing professionals doing just that. Let's get these interviews started right now. All right, welcome back to The American Dream. I've got a great guest with me right now. His name is Adam Sostrin. He's a criminal defense attorney with Sostrin Law Offices. We are talking about something awesome today, which is the theme of our show, which is positivity in the media.
Positivity in the media. Carrie, it's so fantastic to be sitting across from you.
Thank you so much for being here, Adam.
Yes. Yes, so positivity in the media, you immediately think of negativity in the media. We obviously need more positivity in the media. And what we see in the news, what we hear in the news every single day, it's constant negative stuff, and we're constantly watching it, and it's so sad.
Do you feel like people can switch their mindset into being more entertained by positive than negative? Do you think eventually we'd be able to do that?
Well, but by definition, we crave the negative. We only want to talk about bad things that happen rather than the good things. So what can we do to change that? The problem with the media today is you have all these talking heads. It's not like before where people just, when I was young, when people would report the news and the news only, that was a better time period. Right. And things gradually got worse and worse and worse and worse. If you go to Facebook, if you voted for so-and-so, you're a complete jerk. And it's the experience is just becoming so upsetting. I feel like we need to get rid of Facebook, we need to get rid of Instagram, and we just need to have Pinterest and talk about puppies.
You know what, just right? Pinterest things that you like. But I'm glad that you brought up a solution. It was like something needs to change.
Yes.
Because we're going down this path.
We are.
So, okay, getting rid of social media probably isn't going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
But you can get inside, I think, people's minds and trying to figure out, what are people entertained by, right, and how do we make that positive switch into it being not so much. I get it, because you have a podcast. I know you kind of poke fun here and there.
I do. So my podcast, it's called Not Endorsed by the Bar. Sometimes we talk about legal things, but often it has nothing to do with the law, and we just want to have, some fun. Because, work is so stressful during the day. Turning on the news, when I go home to visit my parents, it's an awful experience, right, because they're just yelling at the news. And so we're bombarded by it. So I want to have some laughter. So did my buddy. He's a lawyer. We only have lawyers on. We're completely not endorsed by any bar whatsoever. We talk about things that are completely random and irrelevant. We need those things in our lives. We need to hear both sides of the equation. If you just hear the bad, that's all you're going to think of. If you just hear one side, that's all you're going to think of, and you're going to dislike the other side. We need to hear both sides from these anchors.
I think you touched on some amazing subjects. And you put together solutions. So the news, they could go do a better job of creating both sides or presenting both sides. Less social media.
Less social media.
What would be the third?
I think it is to kind of go back to some of our more traditional values. Mm-hmm. Not get caught up in how we're supposed to be. Like if you go to Facebook and people are, you think they're doing better than you, really it's just that one swimsuit photo that they posted after they did a serious workout regimen for a couple weeks.
And maybe threw a couple filters on it, yeah.
And threw a couple,
don't judge.
Get rid of the filters. And I even came up with the idea of a dating app where it would be called Unmask Me, and it would get rid of the makeup so you would know.
Yep.
You would know who the other person was on the other side of the equation.
Okay, I'm loving where you're going with this, Adam. You've put together the perfect solutions, and we've talked about, you touched on exactly what this show is about. So thank you again for being here with us. It is always a pleasure.
It's great. Thank you.
Thanks so much for watching. We'll be right back with more of The American Dream.
All right, now joining us on The American Dream, great friend of the show. Today we are talking about purpose and communication. There's nobody who does it better than this guy, the Roberto Monaco.
How's it going, buddy? So happy
All
to
is
be
good.
here.
So you're a global speaker, traveling the world, speaking on big stages about speaking.
Exactly.
Right?
Speaking about speaking.
Yeah,
That's
exactly. So what's the latest with you?
Well, been traveling, coaching, and I realized that a lot of people, they have this message, this story, but they don't share. Partially because they're not connected to their purpose. And I believe this, that purpose is born from one's commitment to solve a problem, right? So when I commit to solve a problem, guess what? I have a lot of purpose. Like, for example, you put up this show because your purpose, like, man, I'm tired of just hearing bad news, you know, the way media manipulate things, and you say, you know what? I'm gonna defeat the problem and launch the show. That's why I'm so successful. And I found that the best speakers, communicators, influencers, leaders, they realize that purpose is the key to get them going.
Right. So with us, you know, I was someone who actually watched a lot of news, talk radio growing up, got into radio, and I just saw the way that the country is so polarized, and I found a real passion in trying to unite people and lift people up.
What do you mean polarized? Like,
well, our country is incredibly polarized, whether it's on gender, race, socioeconomic issues, whatever. And you look at a media that makes its money on that divisiveness.
Got it.
So the end-all viewer there's no reason to watch the news. Well, there should be. This stuff's important. So I found inspiration in being different than the mainstream media. And so our show is not owned by a network. We're commercial-free, unscripted. And we bring guys like you on to inspire.
A lot of communicators, they don't feel their message. Does that make sense?
Sure.
I believe that the average presenter describes without feeling. The influencer feels before describing. And that happens because he or she is connected to the purpose. You have to own your story. I believe that you have to own your story. And for the longest time, for example, I'm not gonna tell the story because it's long, but after I worked for Tony Robbins for 6 years, I went to Mexico City, and I was doing a presentation in Spanish. I got kicked out of the stage in front of 600 people.
What happened? You got kicked off stage?
Yeah, in front of 600 people. I was doing a presentation in Spanish, and they said, man, your Spanish is not good enough. It's a whole story. But for 2 years, I never shared the story before. Why? Because I didn't want to be vulnerable, because I wasn't ready to share. Here I am, a speaker for Tony Robbins for many years, a speaking coach, being kicked out of the stage in front of 600 people. So for me, I didn't own that story. Then I realized that in life, either you own your results or your results own you. And at that time, when I wasn't sharing the story, my results are owning me. That means the negative results, until I actually, you know what? I'm gonna own the results because I'm bigger than the quote unquote failure. So now I have the story I share, and it's very inspirational to people.
Dude, you're just dropping knowledge on us today. I mean, great one-liners and everything. Man, you got a great story yourself. So today we're focusing on purpose.
Yes.
Your purpose leads to great communication.
Yeah.
Follow this guy, Roberto Monaco, online. He is in himself a great influencer, a communicator, speaking to communication. Truly an American dream success story. Love having you on the show, man.
I love it, brother. Thanks so much for having me here.
You bet. More of the show coming up next. Now, this is a fascinating topic. On the American Dream, we always talk about real estate, but recently we've been talking about this whole thing with cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. What about these two worlds colliding? Joining us on the show, Piper Moretti, the CEO of The Crypto Realty Group. Good to have you on the program.
Thanks for having me.
So you've hustled some of these deals, these cryptocurrency deals on real estate.
I have, yeah.
Pretty fascinating.
Yeah, and we just bootstrapped it from the ground up. I mean, there weren't a lot of transactions that had happened in California.
Like ever?
Well, there was one that we knew of. There's been a couple since. But yeah, these guys just found me randomly online, wanting to look at luxury homes in my area.
Which is what, LA-ish?
Manhattan Beach, Hermosa Beach, kind of like the South Bay part of Los Angeles. And we totally hit it off, really great people. And about 3 or 4 in, they said, oh, by the way, we're going to buy in Bitcoin. Yeah. So I thought, okay.
I can't imagine that.
Yeah.
So you're just responding to somebody who's looking to buy a luxury piece of real estate, I'm sure pricey. In LA, in that area. So they reach out to you and say, had they already started making offers?
Not up to that point.
Okay.
Because they were still trying to hone in on what part of LA they wanted to live in.
So they're in the process of just talking through things with you, and then they mention, hey, we're going to buy this with cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
And you said,
okay,
yeah,
not a problem.
Hey, you got to be a problem solver in your
Yep,
business.
absolutely.
So then what?
Then I went to Google and just tried to find as much information as possible.
Yeah.
Not a lot out there, but I did piece some things together. You know, I made some great contacts who were able to kind of guide me through, but we basically just had to start from scratch. There was one that happened up in Tahoe a few years prior.
Okay, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. It was another luxury, about I think it was like 1.6, 1.8. But that was the only one that I knew of. And so that led to us finding BitPay, which is a company that it's a payment processor that helps convert the Bitcoin into cash if that's needed, which usually is because a lot of sellers just don't want to.
Does it open the market up? I mean, does it help at all? I mean, you've actually niched your company, the Crypto Realty Group.
Yes.
That's a first.
Yes,
so,
I know.
Yeah, so I love marketing. I think that's great trailblazing. You got the whole world is moving towards this, and you're getting ahead of it on the real estate side, and you're becoming an expert. You've closed how many of these deals now?
5.
So that's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean,
just in
more
the
than
last
I
year.
would imagine anyone else. In each one of those closings, are you always converting it to cash first?
Yes, each one of those so far.
Now, when does that happen? Does that happen before escrow?
It happens during the escrow process because you have the good faith deposit, that comes through, and usually that sets the seller's mind at ease. They're like, oh, okay, well, we received the deposit in U.S. dollars, so then the rest will obviously be transferred in U.S. dollars. So that kind of calms everybody down. But then, at the end of at closing, they're owed the rest, and all of them have been quote unquote cash deals. So no financing.
Yeah, makes sense because it's being converted over. What do you think the future of real estate and cryptocurrency is?
I think we're at the very, very beginning of this wonderful thing. There's also, you can't talk about cryptocurrency without blockchain technology. And there are a lot of startups out there that are trying to merge, the whole crypto concept and the blockchain concept with real estate. And it's exciting stuff. What could be, I always talk about this, what it could be like a 30 to 45 day escrow could be whittled down to 5 to 7 days, maybe even shorter, because everything with the smart contracts and the automation, you can even do payment gateways, all that in crypto, and boom, you've got a house in just a matter of days.
I want to hear about an offer. At some point in time, I want you back on the show where someone actually accepted it in escrow as cryptocurrency.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
The equivalent kind of would be like, I'm going to accept your Google and Apple stock for this house, except cryptocurrency is a currency. It's not a stock, but it's kind of the equivalent of that.
It is. It behaves like a stock,
that's what people know it as, right? It's being traded that way versus necessarily spent. Interesting. So the Crypto Realty Group, if you have any questions, I'd say connect with Piper.
Yeah,
right?
Piper at CryptoRealtyGroup.com.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on The American Dream. I hope the people visit you at thecryptorealtygroup.com if you have any questions. I have questions, but we're out of time here today, so we'll get you back on again.
All right, thank you.
So by the time you come on again, I want you accepting an offer and getting someone to accept the Bitcoin.
Yes, sir.
That would be fascinating. Thanks for coming on the show.
All right, thank you so much.
All right. If you have questions on this stuff, don't forget you can also visit us online. More of The American Dream coming up next. Well, as you know, The American Dream is a national program where we focus on business, the entrepreneurial spirit, overcoming adversity, finance, the market, all things that are relevant to empowering your American dream. But a big topic of conversation on this show is housing. So what we do is we integrate local, top-producing, award-winning realtors to cover a wide range of topics on that subject, different micro markets, different niche subject matter. Housing is such a big topic, so we're going to bring you a lot of information right now from some of the best in your market. Let's check out these interviews.
Welcome back to The American Dream as we now focus in on your local Dallas market. My next guest is Denton Aguam. He is the owner-founder of Darren Network with Keller Williams Realty. Denton, thank you so much for being back on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
So, Denton, we're now entering the summer months, thank God. You are in Dallas. Yeah. What are some tips that you have for sellers out there looking to sell right now?
Yeah, the summer market, it's hot just like Texas. And probably one of the best tips I can give right now is make sure when you sell your home, you have international presence. 1 out of every 12 homes in the United States is bought by somebody from a foreign country. So make sure you syndicate to as many countries as possible. We syndicate to over 200.
Well, that's a really great tip. Tell me a little bit about some ways that you and your team take a different approach to real estate. Is that one of the ways that you're talking about?
Yeah, that's definitely one of the ways, marketing. We also really look at the consumer experience. That's really what's most important to us. So what I've done is created 3 separate divisions in my team. It's a sales division, an operations division, and an inside sales division. Each independently work on parts of the transaction that is really important to the consumer. That way the team members can focus on the 500 plus tasks that needs to be taken care of. And when we do that, then we can create a model that we continue to expand. And we have some big goals to really change the real estate industry and expand pretty much over across all of America.
What are some of the things that you are laser focused on when you're thinking about accomplishing these kinds of goals?
Yeah, well, the biggest things we have to keep fine-tuning our systems and our training. But the most important thing is the right people. We're always looking for great people to get in business with, the right people to get in business with so we can help them hit their goals and we can continue to hit our goals.
Well, Denton, I know that you have a beautiful listing that you wanted to talk a little bit in depth about. This is a gorgeous new build, custom home, open floor plan, which I think everybody's looking for right now.
Yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous. It's 5323 Belmont, located in a hot spot of Dallas, right there off Knox Henderson. It's a new construction home, 4-bed, 3.5 bath, open. Absolutely stunning. This is a beautiful home. Definitely have people come by and check it out.
Denton, what is the one thing you hope our viewers learn about you and your team when watching this interview?
I think with the way the real estate industry is changing, that we want to make it sure that the consumers know that it is a consumer-focused industry. I want to make sure that the experience that they get is absolutely 100% that they love it and that they're going to come back and use this again and again and again. And that's just not just for me. That's for the whole real estate industry as itself.
Well, and this is why people do continue to come back to you. You are a top producer, Denton. Thank you so much. Fantastic as always.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
And for our viewers out there, we encourage you to join in on the conversation on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or check out our website, AmericanDreamNetwork.tv, and we'll be right back with more of the show. Welcome back to The American Dream. My next guest is Troy Olson. He's the team leader with the Troy Olson team with Century 21 Judge Fight. Troy, thank you so much for being back on the show.
How you doing? Thank you for having me back.
So, Troy, tell me a little bit about your process when you're working with clients who are looking to sell their homes. How do you help them prepare?
Sure. So I go out and I do the initial listing interview, and we talk about my marketing plan, but more importantly, we walk each room of the house and tell them, in my opinion, what I think that the house needs to have changed before we go on the market. And then if it's an extreme case, I will bring in a decorator and a stager in front of the professional photographer to make sure that it's ready for the photos before we go on the market.
That must be a sensitive conversation to have sometimes. How do you do that with some finesse?
I'm the good cop and the interior decorator is the bad cop.
Oh, that makes sense.
And I prepare that going in with my decorator. So she's very good at what she does, and she has no problem, being the bad cop.
Well, once you've had your clients prepare their home to the best of their ability, then it's up to you to market it. Tell me how you go about doing that in the best way possible.
Sure. So we've got a very good photographer we use here in Dallas called Full Media Package. They've got 12 or 15 photographers. I've used multiple. They're all great. They're very professional, and their photos make the house look bigger and brighter and wider and cleaner than it is. We do a lot of drone photography. We do a lot of video. We do a lot of social media. And then, of course, telling them that I'm one of a handful of agents in DFW that can put their listing on a TV show platform like this has certainly given me a leg up in my marketing efforts.
Well, Troy, I've heard that you've only lost one listing this year that you've actually interviewed for. That's incredible.
That is correct. So in the North Dallas area, we do a lot of corporate relocation business. And when you go out to interview for those listings, you are always competing with 2 or 3 other relocation experts. And since I have been on the American Dream TV, I can honestly say I've only lost one listing so far in 2018.
Why do you think you have such a high listing conversion ratio?
So in 2017, my corporate relocation listing ratio was 88%. And I think it's due to the fact that I don't just run comps and then show up with the comps. I actually study the most competing listings that I'm going to be going up against when I list their home, but I also focus on the sold listings, not just in the immediate subdivision, but I go a little bit further out. So I would say it's more time and depth in doing my homework and research, so I am absolutely more prepared than the agent that I'm competing against.
So we're talking about preparation. What about knowledge of the market?
Well, living here for 14 years certainly has helped. And then again, my core business is Frisco, Plano, McKinney, Allen, Prosper, Salina. I would say about 95% of my business is in those 6 cities. So the year's experience and just doing as much volume as we do has given us the knowledge to provide the homeowner that information during a listing interview.
Well, we've talked about all the listings that you've had, that you've kept, the homes that you've sold. You actually have a listing that you wanted to highlight today that you currently have. It's on the market now, and this is in Frisco.
That's correct. 5611 Cape Cod Drive. It's in West Frisco. It's in a gated community. It's a 5-bedroom, 4 full bathrooms, 2 half baths, 3-car garage, corner lot with a pool. It's a beautiful home, currently listed at $837,000.
Troy Olson, always great to have you on. And again, for our viewers, your website, troyolsonteam.com. Thank you again for being on with us.
Thank you. We'll see you soon.
And we will be right back with more of The American Dream. Well, in such a hot market, multiple bids are to be expected. And we are talking about the most effective ways to get your offer accepted with my next guest, Tommy Pestana, top producing listing specialist with Coldwell Banker. Tommy, thank you so much for being back on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So as the market now continues to stay strong in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I'm sure you are often running into bidding wars with your clients. So what are your 3 most effective strategies to make sure that your client's offer is the one that wins out?
Well, you're correct. We are seeing a great market in DFW. We are seeing a lot of bidding wars, multiple offers. So I would say number 1, as we all know, cash is king. If you have the ability to put in an all-cash offer, that's going to put you in a top position in this competitive market. It does a few things for you as a buyer. It's going to eliminate the mortgage. It's going to eliminate the appraisal. And it's also going to shorten the time frame of the transaction. Just in case any unforeseen circumstances come up that a buyer could terminate from. So it really gives the seller peace of mind, if you do come in with all cash.
Sure. Well, you mentioned cash is king, but not everybody has all cash offers. What is your second best tip for making sure that that offer gets accepted?
Well, on this one, I think you got to get creative with the offer. Buyers and sellers, especially buyers, just think, hey, if I keep raising my offer, I'm eventually going to get the house. But sales price, in the end, sometimes isn't the best offer. Here in the DFW Metroplex, sales are outpacing our appraisals. So what's happening is, for example, if your home's listed at $400,000, you get multiple offers and you settle at $420,000. What happens if that appraisal comes in at $380,000? Usually the seller has to drop their price down to $380,000 unless they can negotiate that. So as a buyer, if you guarantee that difference when you come in with your best and final offer, that's really going to put you in a solid position to get the home and win the bid.
So what would your last tip then be for buyers dealing with a multiple offer situation?
Well, this one's kind of old school, but I like to call it keep it personal. Get personal with your offer. Submitting a letter with a photo of your family with an offer is a fantastic thing to do. I actually just recently read that it gives you about a 50% more chance of winning a home in a multiple offer situation, because it is a very emotional transaction for both the seller and the buyer. And, a lot of times, a lot of sellers I work with, they end up selecting an offer that is actually a lower price because they like the family, they like the way the offer was presented. So just keep it personal, write them a personal letter, and tell them how much you want the house.
Absolutely. Personal works. Well, Tommy, before I let you go, I know that you have a beautiful property that you wanted to highlight for us today, and it's located in the incredibly desirable community of the Highlands of Trophy Club. Will you tell me a little bit about this property?
Yes, so Trophy Club is located just west, about 5 miles of the DFW airport, so it's centrally located in the Metroplex. This is a fantastic property, just over 3,500 square feet, 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, and we are listed at $549,000. It's in a master plan community, community parks, close to Trophy Club Country Club, just an overall great house.
Absolutely spectacular. Tommy, always great to see you. Thank you so much for being back on the show.
Awesome, thank you.
And with that, we will be right back with more of the American Dream.
You just heard from award-winning realtors about your marketplace. It's one thing to find your dream home. It's another thing to finance it. I've traveled the country to find the best mortgage experts in every city. You're going to hear from yours in a Mortgage Minute right now. Let's check it out.
And now for our Mortgage Minute, we're speaking with Andy Tuttle. He's the branch manager of the Tuttle Group at Fairway Independent Mortgage. Andy, thanks for being on with us.
Well, thanks for finally, giving me the honor of being interviewed by you. It's wonderful.
Oh, it's absolutely my pleasure, Andy. And, I want to talk to you a little bit about what we were just talking about prior, which is international buyers and some of the hurdles they face. Tell me how that looks from a lending perspective. What does that look like for you?
Yeah, good question. So, it's great what Denton talked about, international buyers coming in, and there are a lot of them coming into the marketplace. A couple of things you need to know, though, is although there are different programs for you, for national programs, there's ITM programs. We help people coming in from all over the world. But if you want to go traditional financing, you need to claim income in the United States for the most part. And it is, you need to be buying a primary residence for the most part if you want to go traditional financing, because they just don't lend if there's no recourse, right? If you live in another country and you're buying a rental property here and you're not claiming any income here, if you default on that loan, right, there's no recourse. And so just know that, and there are some portfolio options, and we have some of those connections. If you do want to buy here, but you don't claim income here, right, you don't have a social security number, et cetera, you just need to know that you don't have all the available lending programs to you. There's just a few, 2 to 3% of the programs are available. You need to make a call. You need to get that information before you decide you want to buy. So
what I'm hearing from you is that there are options.
Yeah, that's right. But just don't think you're getting like the normal, you're looking up online and looking at those online sites for rates and programs. That does not apply to you.
All right, fantastic information as always, Andy. Thanks for being on.
Thanks for having me.
That's it for today. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to follow us on social media, find us online, and we'll catch you next time.
The preceding program was sponsored by Ignite Now Media with promotional consideration by its affiliated partners.